Commander Kate Morris had seen many strange things in her 12 years with the Terran Deep Space Corps, but nothing prepared her for the sight of a crystalline ship spiraling through the asteroid field, trailing violet fire and what looked like stardust. The unknown vessel tumbled through space, leaving a trail of glowing particles behind it, and Kate knew immediately that whoever was piloting that ship was in serious trouble. Kate leaned forward in her command chair on the bridge of the Valiant and spoke into the communications system with a calm, steady voice that she did not entirely feel. "Unknown vessel. This is the Valiant, and we are here to help you." The response came not in words, but in a pulse of pure thought that crashed into her mind like a wave and made her stumble backward from her console, gasping for air. Images flooded her, consciousness faster than she could process them, and she saw a world of silver forests beneath twin moons and towers that pierced clouds like needles of pearl, and a war that had raged for 3,000 years across multiple star systems. When the alien craft finally limped into the hangar bay of the Valiant, Kate stood waiting with her security team, and their weapons were lowered but ready, because she had learned long ago that first contact situations could go wrong in a heartbeat. The airlock of the strange crystalline ship hissed open with a sound like wind chimes, and steam poured out into the hangar bay, creating an eerie fog that swirled around their feet. Then she emerged from the mist, and Kate felt her breath catch in her throat. The woman stood nearly 7 feet tall with skin that shimmered like moonlight on water, and her ears swept back in elegant points that marked her as something definitely not human. Her eyes held the depth of galaxies within them, swirling with colors that Kate had no names for. And when those eyes met hers, Kate felt something shift deep in her chest. But it was the creature behind the tall woman that made Kate take an involuntary step backward. A dragon no larger than a wolf emerged from the ship with scales that shifted between midnight blue and starlight silver and wings folded against a serpentine body that moved with liquid grace. The dragon's eyes were intelligent and ancient, and when it looked at Kate, she had the distinct impression that it was judging her and finding her barely acceptable. "I am Princess Lyra of House Silverwind, and this is Nexa last of the Astral Drakes." The woman spoke, and her voice was like wind chimes in a storm, both beautiful and terrible at the same time. "We come seeking sanctuary and perhaps vengeance against those who destroyed my fleet." Kate noticed the blood then, and her commander instincts kicked into high gear, overriding her shock and wonder. The princess had luminescent blue blood seeping through her ornate armor, and the dragon Nexa was limping on one hind leg, with a wound that seemed to pulse with strange dark energy. Medical bay now, Kate ordered, her voice sharp and commanding. "Lieutenant Amy Grant, clear Trauma Room 1 because we have wounded, and they need help immediately." As her team moved to assist the princess, her legs buckled and she started to fall. Kate caught her without thinking and was surprised by how light she was and how her skin felt like cool silk, despite the warmth of her blood soaking into Kate's uniform. The princess looked up at her with those cosmic eyes struggling to focus through what was clearly immense pain. "The Vorath Collective destroyed my fleet and 17 sister ships are all gone now." Lyra's voice cracked with grief so profound that Kate felt it like a physical weight pressing down on her chest. "I am all that remains of the 4th Expeditionary Force sent to stop their advance." Kate adjusted her grip on the princess, supporting more of her weight as they moved toward the medical bay. "You are safe now on my ship, and nobody is going to hurt you here." Something in the alien woman's pain called to Kate's own losses and her own scars from losing her wife. Claire 3 years ago, in a deep space accident that still haunted her dreams. The dragon Nexa made a sound like singing crystals and nuzzled Kate's hand with surprising gentleness, before allowing Lieutenant Grant to examine her wounds. In the medical bay, Dr. Helen Wright worked with desperate efficiency as her xenobiology training was pushed to its absolute limits. The dark energy infecting both Princess and Drake was unlike anything in Terran databases, and it seemed to be alive somehow, crawling through their bodies like a living thing. "I can stabilize them for now," Helen said quietly to Kate after 20 minutes of frantic work. "But I cannot cure this infection, because whatever hit them is consuming them from within, and it is designed to kill slowly and painfully." Kate watched through the observation window as Lyra lay unconscious on the medical bed with Nexa curled protectively at her side despite her own injuries. The dragon's eyes never closed and never stopped watching the doorways as if expecting enemies to come, bursting through at any moment. "Then we figure it out together," Kate said with more confidence than she felt. "Nobody dies on my ship, and that is a promise." What Kate did not know was that the Vorath Collective had already detected the princess's escape pod signature in this sector of space. What she also did not know was that in saving Lyra's life, she had just entangled humanity in a cosmic war that would determine the fate of 17 star systems. And what she especially did not know was that she had awakened something in herself that she thought she had buried forever after losing Claire. The ability to care about someone again, the ability to fight for someone again, the ability to maybe even love again. The sensors on the Valiant began picking up strange anomalies at the edge of the solar system, and the readings made no sense. According to known physics, something vast was folding space itself and tearing through the fabric of reality like paper. "Commander, you need to see this right now," Ensign Lisa Hayes called from the bridge, and her voice was tight, with barely controlled fear. Kate left the medical bay, but not before glancing back one last time at the sleeping princess and her faithful dragon companion. Something told her that everything was about to change in ways she could not begin to imagine, and she was absolutely right about that. The Vorath ships were coming, and they were coming for Princess Lyra. The war had found them, and Kate Morris was about to learn what it meant to stand between an unstoppable force and someone she was beginning to realize she would die to protect. Even though they had only just met, even though it made no logical sense, even though the rational part of her mind screamed that this was happening too fast. Her heart had already made its choice. The Vorath ships emerged from folded space like nightmares given physical form, and Kate counted 12 of them as they appeared on the view screen. Each vessel was twice the size of the Valiant, with obsidian hulls covered in pulsing red veins, and they seemed to absorb light itself rather than reflect it. "Battle stations," Kate commanded, and her voice cut through the sudden chaos erupting on the bridge. "All hands, this is not a drill, and I need weapons hot and shields to maximum right now." "Commander, they are hailing us," Lieutenant Monica Blake said from the communications station, and her hands were shaking slightly as she worked her console. "Put them on screen," Kate ordered, while her mind raced through tactical options, and none of them looked good. The creature that appeared on the view screen was an abomination of flesh and machine, with its face a grotesque fusion of organic matter and black metal. When it spoke, its voice echoed with what sounded like the screams of 1,000 dying worlds. "Terran vessel, you harbor the traitor Princess Lyra Silverwind, and you will surrender her and the Drake to us immediately." The creature leaned forward, and its mechanical eyes glowed with malevolent red light. "If you comply, we will allow you to die quickly and painlessly." Kate felt her crew's eyes on her, waiting for her decision, and she knew what the logical choice should be. One alien princess and her dragon were not worth the lives of her 200 crew members. But Kate had never been good at logic when it came to protecting innocent people from monsters. Unknown, hostile. Vessels. "This is Commander Kate Morris of the Terran vessel, Valiant." Kate stood from her command chair and faced the view screen directly. "The individuals you seek are under Terran protection, and you will withdraw immediately, or face the consequences of attacking us." The Vorath commander's face split into something that might have been a smile, but looked more like a wound opening. "So be it, and your species will learn what it means to stand against the collective." The transmission cut off, and all 12 ships opened fire simultaneously with particle beams and plasma torpedoes that lit up space like a deadly light show. The shields of the Valiant flared brilliant blue as the weapons impacted, and Kate gripped her command chair as the ship shuddered under the assault. "Return fire and use evasive pattern Delta 3, Kate shouted over the sound of alarms. The Valiant was a Terran dreadnought and state-of-the-art and powerful, but 12-to-1 odds were suicide, and everyone on the bridge knew it, but they fought anyway because that is what humans did when their backs were against the wall. "Shields at 60%, Monica called out from her station, 50% now, 40%, and dropping fast. Then the medical bay doors exploded open, and Princess Lyra strode onto the bridge still wounded, but radiating power that made the air itself tremble and crackle with energy. Nexa perched on her shoulder, small but fierce, with eyes blazing with starfire. "You fight for me," Lyra said, and her voice was filled with wonder and something else that Kate could not quite identify. "Why would you risk everything for someone you just met?" Kate turned from the tactical display to face her directly. "Because it is the right thing to do, and because nobody threatens my ship." She paused and then added more quietly, "And because leaving you to die would be wrong." The ship lurched violently as a section of the hull breached, and warning klaxons wailed throughout the vessel. Lyra's eyes narrowed with determination, and she raised her hands high. Ancient words in a language older than human civilization poured from her lips, and Nexa launched from her shoulder, growing and expanding and transforming. The small dragon became a creature of legend, filling the bridge with wings of pure starlight and scales that reflected the cosmos itself, like a living mirror. "Impossible, Dr. Wright," gasped from the medical station where she had followed Lyra. "The mass alone violates every law of physics we know." "Not physics," Lyra said, as her hands wove complex patterns in the air that left glowing trails. "Magic is the old science of the first worlds, and it follows different rules than yours." Kate watched in amazement as Nexa phased through the hull of the ship, passing through solid matter like it was not even there. The astral dragon emerged into the vacuum of space and roared with a sound that transmitted through quantum channels and made the Vorath ships shudder. "All ships focus fire on that creature." The Vorath commander shrieked, and his voice had lost its confidence, but Nexa was already moving with impossible speed and grace that defied everything Kate knew about physics and motion. The dragon dove through one Vorath vessel, and her starlight form burned through their shields like they were made of paper. The ship exploded from within and became a flower of fire blooming in the darkness of space. Lyra collapsed to one knee, and luminescent blue blood trickled from her nose, staining her silver skin. "The corruption is fighting me, and I cannot maintain Nexa's transformation much longer." Kate was at her side in an instant, supporting her weight without thinking. "Then we fight smart instead of hard." Kate turned to her crew and started issuing orders rapidly. "Lieutenant Blake, send a narrow beam transmission to Earth Command because we need reinforcements right now. Ensign Hayes, calculate a jump solution to the Arcturus belt immediately." "Commander, the asteroid field." Lisa questioned with obvious concern. "At our current damage level, we might not survive the journey. I know the risks perfectly well." Kate said grimly. "Do it anyway because we do not have any other options." Through the view screen, they watched Nexa destroy 2 more Vorath ships, but the remaining 9 were adapting and their weapons were recalibrating. The Drake took a direct hit from concentrated fire, and Lyra screamed as if she had been struck herself. The bond, Lyra explained through gritted teeth as she leaned heavily against Kate for support. "What hurts? Nexa hurts me, because we are 2 souls sharing one heart." Kate's tactical mind raced through possibilities as she processed this new information. 9 ships remaining, and a dying dragon, and a wounded princess, and a damaged vessel. The odds were mathematically impossible. but humanity had always loved impossible odds. "I have an idea," Kate said slowly, "but you are not going to like it at all." Lyra looked up at her, and those galaxy eyes met her own human ones. For a moment, something passed between them that went deeper than words or logic. An understanding, a connection, a recognition of kindred spirits. "I trust you," Lyra whispered, and her voice was soft. Those 3 words changed everything in Kate's heart. Kate's plan was completely insane, and she knew it perfectly well. But sometimes insanity was the only sane response to an impossible situation. "Helm set course directly into the heart of the asteroid field and give me maximum burn." The helmsman hesitated for just a moment. "Ma'am, at our current speed, the impact probability will tear us apart." "I know," Kate interrupted. "That is exactly why we are not going to hit anything." She turned to Lyra, who was still weak but standing with fierce determination written across her elegant features. "Can Nexa scout ahead and find us a safe path through the asteroids?" Lyra closed her eyes, and her connection with the dragon flared to life. Through the view screen, they watched the astral drake's movements shift from combat to reconnaissance mode. "Yes, Nexa can guide us, but the Vorath will follow us into the field. That is exactly what I am counting on," Kate said with a grim smile. The Valiant plunged into the asteroid field, with 9 enemy vessels in hot pursuit. Kate's hands flew across her console, calling up tactical overlays and plotting vectors that would make even a seasoned navigator weep with despair. "Lieutenant Grant, I need you in the weapons bay right now. Prepare every single mine we have with magnetic locks and proximity detonators. All of them." Commander Amy questioned every single one, "because we are going to turn this asteroid field into the biggest minefield in the galaxy." Through Nexa's eyes, transmitted directly to the bridge's main screen, through Lyra's telepathic link, they could see the deadly maze ahead. Asteroids the size of mountains tumbled in chaotic patterns with collision courses measured in seconds rather than minutes. "Hard starboard," Kate commanded, and the Valiant barely slipped between 2 massive rocks that would have crushed them flat. Behind them, a Vorath ship was not as lucky, and it clipped an asteroid, spinning wildly as its shields failed, and its hull breached. 8 left drop mines with pattern alpha. Kate ordered calmly. Amy's voice came through the communication system. "Mines away, Commander." The Valiant wove through the asteroids like a needle threading through fabric, leaving a trail of deadly surprises in its wake. The Vorath ships were larger and less maneuverable, and they struggled to follow the same path. One triggered a mine, and the explosion created a massive chain reaction that shattered a nearby asteroid into thousands of deadly projectiles. 2 more Vorath vessels were caught in the blast, and their shields overloaded before their hulls ruptured. 5 ships left now, but the Valiant was bleeding badly with hull breaches on 3 decks and shields at only 15%. The starboard engines were failing, and Kate could feel her ship dying beneath her with each alarm like a death knell. Commander Helen's voice came urgently from the medical bay. "The corruption in the Princess is spreading faster now, and whatever she is doing with the Drake is accelerating the infection." Kate looked at Lyra and saw the dark veins creeping up her neck like poison. The way her hands trembled even as she maintained her telepathic link with Nexa. The Princess was sacrificing herself to save them all. "Lyra, you need to break the connection because you are dying." "So are you?" Lyra replied, and her voice was strained with pain. "Your ship cannot take much more damage, but Nexa can lead you through this. Just a little longer." "Not at the cost of your life," Kate said firmly. Lyra smiled then, and it was a sad, beautiful expression full of ancient wisdom. "You humans are so concerned with individual survival. We elves see the bigger pattern and the dance of fate. If I die saving you and saving your crew, then perhaps that is what the stars always intended." Kate felt anger flare hot in her chest. "I do not care what the stars intended." She grabbed Lyra's hand without thinking. "I am getting you out of this alive, Princess, and that is an order. The remaining Vorath ships emerged from the asteroid field, damaged but still functional and very angry. They are charging some kind of superweapon, Monica called out, and her voice was climbing with barely controlled panic. Energy signature is completely off the charts. On the view screen, the lead Vorath vessel was glowing as power built in its core. Kate recognized the configuration from her tactical training. A reality ripper, a weapon that would tear a hole in space itself and consume everything within 100,000 kilometers. Time to detonation 90 seconds, Commander. Not enough time to escape and not nearly enough time to do anything useful. Lyra stood up, pulling her hand from Kate's grasp with obvious reluctance. Then we stop running right now, and we fight Nexa. The astral drake appeared at the view screen, and her massive form blocked out the stars themselves. She was wounded and bleeding that same luminescent blue blood, but her eyes burned with pure defiance. Lyra, no, Kate said, because she understood what the princess intended to do. The corruption will kill you if you push any harder, and that weapon will kill all of you if I do not push harder. Lyra replied. Her hands began to glow with that same starlight that coursed through Nexa's veins. I am Princess Lyra Silverwind, and heir to the ancient throne of Aelthalis. I will not let my cowardice doom those who showed me nothing but kindness. She turned to Kate, and their eyes met one final time. Thank you, Commander Kate Morris. Thank you for reminding me what it means to fight for something beyond duty and beyond obligation. Ancient words filled the bridge, and power made reality itself shudder and bend. Nexa roared, and the sound carried through space and through dimensions and through time itself. The astral drake grew larger and impossibly larger until she eclipsed the Vorath ships like a moon blotting out the sun. 60 seconds to detonation, Monica whispered, and her voice was full of awe and terror. Kate watched helplessly as Lyra poured everything she had into Nexa. The princess's body was glowing brighter and brighter even as the dark corruption spread like poison through her veins. It was a race between power and death. Then Nexa struck with claws that tore through reality. The astral drake's talons ripped through the Vorath flagship's hull like tissue paper. She reached into the heart of the reality ripper and into the building chain reaction. She grabbed it with claws of pure starlight. The weapon detonated, but not outward. Contained by Nexa's cosmic form, the explosion turned inward. The drake screamed with such agony that every crew member on the Valiant doubled over in sympathetic pain. But she held on. She held until the reaction burned itself out and until the energy dissipated into harmless radiation. The 4 remaining Vorath ships saw their flagship destroyed and their superweapon neutralized. They did what the collective had not done in 3,000 years of war. They retreated on the bridge. Lyra collapsed as blood poured from her eyes and nose and ears. Nexa shrunk back to her smaller form and fell from the sky, tumbling through space like a broken toy tractor beam. Kate shouted as she caught Lyra before she hit the floor. "Get Nexa inside now!" She cradled the princess in her arms and felt the cold spreading through Lyra's body as the corruption finally overcame her defenses. The elf's lips moved, trying desperately to form words. "Save your strength," Kate said, and her voice broke. "Helen will fix this, and she will find a cure," Kate Lyra whispered, and it was the first time she had used the commander's first name. "I am glad it was you. Do not you dare," Kate said fiercely, as tears she had not shed in 3 years finally broke through. "Do not you dare die on me because we just met. There is so much. She stopped, uncertain and unsure. Lyra's hand reached up and her cool fingers touched Kate's cheek gently. "I know," the princess breathed. "I know what you were going to say." Then her eyes closed and her hand fell away. Kate was screaming for Helen and screaming for someone to save this alien princess, this woman she had known for less than a day, this woman who had somehow become everything. For 3 days, Princess Lyra Silverwind lay between life and death. while Dr. Helen Wright performed what could only be called miracles. The corruption that infected both the princess and Nexa was unlike any pathogen in human medical records. It was not biological or viral or anything that made sense according to known science. It is eating away at her soul. Helen explained to Kate during one of the commander's many vigils at the medical bay observation window. That is the only way I can describe what is happening to her. Every conventional treatment I have tried just feeds it and makes it stronger. Antibiotics and antivirals and radiation therapy, nothing works at all. If anything, the corruption is getting stronger with each attempt. Kate stood motionless as she watched Lyra's chest rise and fall in shallow breaths that seemed weaker each time Nexa lay curled beside her on a specially designed platform, and the Drake's starlight scales were dimmed to barely a flicker. The bond between them was so strong that treating one without the other was completely impossible. "There has to be something," Kate said, and her voice was rough from lack of sleep. "Some way to fight this corruption. If there is a way, it is not in any human medical text." Helen paused and then added quietly, "Kate, you should prepare yourself for the worst. Even with my best efforts, I estimate she has maybe 48 hours left, less if the corruption accelerates again." Kate's jaw tightened with determination. "No, I am not giving up on her. She had barely left the medical bay since the battle, and she only caught brief moments of sleep in the observation room. Her crew had noticed this change in their normally controlled and professional commander. Lieutenant Amy Grant had taken to bringing Kate coffee and forcing her to eat actual food. "You are no good to anyone if you collapse," Amy said gently as she set down a tray. "The princess would not want you destroying yourself like this. You do not know what she would want." Kate snapped and then immediately regretted her harsh tone. "I am sorry, Amy. I just cannot lose her." I know Amy's voice was kind and understanding. "I saw you with her commander during the battle. The way you looked at each other. Sometimes the heart does not care about logic or timing." Kate did not respond because she could not. Amy was right, and Kate knew it. Somewhere in the chaos of combat and the desperation of survival, something had sparked between her and Lyra. Something that felt like coming home after a very long exile. And now she was losing it before she even understood what it was. On the fourth day, something changed dramatically. Kate was dozing in her chair when alarms jerked her awake with a spike of adrenaline. Through the observation window, she saw Lyra convulsing as dark energy poured off her in waves. Nexa was thrashing as well, and the Drake's small form was writhing in obvious agony. Helen Kate shouted as she slammed her hand against the communication panel. The doctor was already racing in with her medical team close behind. "Get me 50 units of the stabilizer and prep the neural dampeners right now." But as they worked, Kate noticed something strange about the pattern. The corruption and that black poison spreading through Lyra's veins was moving with purpose. Not spreading randomly anymore, but flowing and concentrating, traveling up toward Lyra's chest and gathering at her heart like water flowing downhill. "Helen, stop," Kate commanded suddenly. "Look at the pattern of movement." The doctor paused and studied the medical readouts with growing confusion. "It is consolidating in one place. I do not understand why it would do that." Then Lyra's eyes snapped open and they were glowing with that cosmic starlight. When she spoke, her voice resonated with ancient power, because it was never meant to kill outright. It was meant to corrupt and to turn people into weapons. Her hand reached out, grasping Nexa with desperate strength. The Drake's eyes opened as well, and they matched that same burning light. "The Vorath Collective does not destroy their enemies," Lyra continued as she sat up despite Helen's protests. "They convert them and make them into weapons for the collective. For 3 days I have been fighting not to stay alive but to stay myself. The corruption gathered at her heart pulsed once and then twice. Each beat sent waves of dark energy through her entire body. Kate watched in horror as black lines spread across Lyra's face and her arms, and her entire body like cracks in porcelain. Lyra, fight it. Kate pressed against the observation window, feeling completely helpless. The princess looked at her through the glass, and despite the corruption claiming her, she smiled gently. I am fighting brave Kate, but I cannot win this battle alone. She raised her free hand, and the window between them dissolved into pure starlight. Suddenly there was nothing separating Kate from the medical bay and from Lyra. The Vorath weapon feeds on isolation and on loneliness. Lyra explained, and her voice was straining. It turns souls inward and makes them consume themselves from within. But the elves of Aelthalas learned long ago that true power comes not from standing alone, but from standing together. Nexa leaped from the medical platform and landed at Kate's feet with surprising grace. The Drake looked up at her with those intelligent starlight eyes. Kate understood immediately what they wanted. The bond, Kate whispered. You want to bond with me like you are bonded with Nexa. It is the only way to fight this, Lyra said seriously. But Kate, you must understand what you are agreeing to. A soul bond is forever, and it will tie your life to mine, and your heart to mine. You will feel what I feel and know what I know. There will be no secrets between us and no barriers at all. And if I fail, and if the corruption takes me, then it will take you too. Kate should have hesitated and should have thought about the implications, should have thought about the risks and the sheer impossibility of binding her human soul to an alien princess, should have considered her duty to her crew and to her ship and to Earth Command. Instead, she stepped forward without hesitation and took Lyra's outstretched hand. Then we fight together, Kate said simply. The moment their hands touched, Kate's entire world exploded into brilliant light. She felt Lyra's memories flooding into her consciousness like a tidal wave, 3,000 years of life and of love and loss, and of a war that had consumed an entire civilization. She felt the weight of duty and the burden of being the last of a royal house. She felt the grief of watching 17 sister ships die in flames, and beneath it all she felt something else that made her heart ache, a loneliness so profound it made Kate's own isolation seem like a moment's sadness. Lyra had been alone, and truly alone, for longer than human civilization had even existed. But now, as Kate's own memories flowed back through the bond, Lyra was alone, no longer Kate's childhood on Earth, and her academy days and meeting her wife Claire, losing Claire to a deep space accident and 3 years of grief and duty that followed. Their souls intertwined and merged, human and elf, mortal and ancient, becoming something entirely new. The Vorath corruption had no framework to comprehend what was happening. The dark energy at Lyra's heart pulsed as it tried to spread and tried to corrupt them both, and Kate, feeling Lyra's power flowing through her like electricity, pushed back hard. You want to consume us? Kate's voice carried harmonics it had never held before. Try it then. The corruption surged forward, like a wave crashing against a cliff, but where it expected one soul alone, and isolated and vulnerable, it found 2 souls intertwined. Where it expected human weakness, it found elven resilience. Where it expected ancient weariness, it found human stubborn determination. The wave broke and shattered and began to dissolve Lyra and Kate, moving as one reached into the heart of the corruption with their combined will. They did not try to fight it or destroy it. They transformed it, taking the Vorath's weapon of hate and loneliness and remaking it through their connection. The black veins across Lyra's body began to glow and shift from poison dark to brilliant silver blue. The corruption screamed with a sound only they could hear as it was purified by the bond between 2 souls. Nexa roared in triumph, and her starlight form blazed bright enough to make Helen and her team shield their eyes. And then it was over. Lyra collapsed into Kate's arms with the corruption gone. Only faint silver scars remained like constellations across her skin. Kate held her, and both of them were gasping. Their hearts were beating in perfect synchronization now. "Is it done?" Helen asked cautiously as her scanners analyzed them. "It is done," Lyra breathed, and then she laughed. "By the first stars, it is done." She looked up at Kate, and in her eyes, Kate saw everything. The bond had worked both ways. Lyra knew about Claire and about Kate's grief and about the walls she had built, knew and understood and accepted it all. So Lyra said softly with a smile, "It seems we are well and truly stuck with each other now. Commander Kate Morris." Kate felt tears on her cheeks, but they were not tears of grief. I can think of worse fates, Princess Lyra Silverwind, but they had no time to explore their new bond. The proximity alarms began shrieking throughout the ship. Monica's voice came over the ship-wide communication system. "Commander to the bridge immediately." "We have incoming vessels and lots of them." Kate and Lyra looked at each other. Their bond allowed wordless communication now. They both knew what was coming next. The Vorath Collective had not retreated because they were defeated. They retreated to bring overwhelming reinforcements. The bridge of the Valiant was organized chaos when Kate and Lyra arrived with Nexa perched on the princess's shoulder. Through the view screen, the sight made even Kate's battle-hardened crew fall completely silent. 47 Vorath vessels, each one bristling with weapons, emerged from folded space in perfect military formation, and behind them, eclipsing the stars themselves, came something else. A construct so massive it defied all comprehension, a city-sized fortress of black metal and pulsing red veins. "What is that thing?" Lieutenant Monica Blake whispered. The Harvester Lyra said, and her face had gone pale. "The Vorath Collective's flagship. I have not seen it in 200 years. When last it appeared, it consumed the entire Talasian system. 3 billion souls just gone through their bond." Kate felt Lyra's terror, but also her resignation. This was an enemy that could not be beaten, not by one damaged Earth ship and a wounded princess. All Terran vessels in range. This is Commander Kate Morris of the Valiant. Kate transmitted on all frequencies. "We are facing overwhelming hostile force at our coordinates." Commander Ensign Lisa Hayes interrupted from communications. "You need to hear this message. It is coming from the Harvester." The proud view screen shifted, and Kate found herself looking at something that made her stomach turn. The Vorath commander from before was there, but changed. More machine than organic now, with its body integrated into a massive throne of living metal, Commander Morris and Princess Lyra. The voice was different now and layered with hundreds of tones, as if an entire civilization spoke through one mouth. "You have proven remarkably resilient. The Collective is impressed by your determination and your capacity for sacrifice. These are qualities we value highly." "We are not interested in your values," Kate said coldly. "Of course not," the Vorath said, "but you will be interested in our offer." The view screen split, showing different angles of the space around them. "We have tracked 17 Terran vessels responding to your distress call, destroyers and frigates, and even 2 battlecruisers. They will arrive in approximately 14 minutes. We will, of course, destroy them all completely." Kate's blood ran cold. She had called for help, never imagining it would bring more of her people into a slaughter, unless the Vorath continued. "You surrender to us now. Give us the princess and the Drake. Allow us to complete the conversion process we began with our corruption weapon. In exchange, we will allow all Terran vessels to depart in peace. You have our word on this." "The word of the Collective is worthless," Lyra spat. "Perhaps the Vorath admitted, but consider your alternative carefully. We will destroy you. Then we will destroy your reinforcements. Then we will follow the navigation data in your computers and find Earth itself, and we will harvest it. Every last soul will be converted into extensions of the Collective. Or you sacrifice 2 individuals and save billions. Is that not the human way? The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few." The bridge was silent. Kate could feel her crew's eyes on her, could feel their fear and their desperate hope that she would find some impossible third option. Through the bond she felt, Lyra's decision crystallizing. "No," Kate said aloud, not to the Vorath, but to Lyra. "Absolutely not, Kate. It is the logical choice," Lyra said quietly. "Your people are not saved by sacrificing you." Kate interrupted. "That is not how this works at all." She turned to face Lyra, fully ignoring the Vorath and ignoring her crew. Ignoring everything except the woman who had become part of her soul. "We just found each other, and I am not losing you now." Commander Amy Grant spoke up from tactical. "If we could buy time, maybe until the reinforcements arrive." "They arrive to die alongside us," Kate said. "No, that is not an option." Her mind was racing as she looked at tactical displays, reading energy signatures, and analyzing the Vorath formation. 47 ships and a Harvester-class fortress against one critically damaged dreadnought. Then she noticed something, and through the bond, Lyra was seeing it too. The Harvester's energy signature, Lyra breathed. "It is drawing power from the entire fleet, using them as a distributed network, like a hive mind," Kate said as understanding dawned. "Take out the central node, and the entire network collapses." Lyra finished, but Kate, to get close enough to the Harvester to strike its core, we would have to go through all 47 ships. The Valiant would never make it that far. The Valiant will not have to, Kate said. She turned to her crew with a decision made. "Prepare to evacuate ship. All hands to escape pods immediately." Commander Monica questioned, and her voice was rising. "What are you planning?" "That is an order. Lieutenant, all non-essential personnel, abandon ship now. And you." Commander Helen's voice came from the medical bay. She already knew the answer. "Someone has to pilot the ship." Kate said. "Someone has to finish this fight, then we stay," Amy said firmly. "All of us together. You do not get to play hero alone." "Commander Lieutenant Grant," Kate started. "With respect, ma'am." Amy interrupted. "We are not leaving you behind, right? Everyone." The chorus of agreements from every station made Kate's eyes sting with emotion. Her crew, her family Lyra, took Kate's hand gently, and I certainly am not leaving either. Where you go, I go. That is what the bond means, through their connection. Kate felt Lyra's absolute certainty, her willingness to die at Kate's side, and she felt something else. Something that had been building since their souls first touched, something neither of them had dared to name until now. "Your time is up," the Vorath commander interrupted. "What is your answer?" Kate looked at Lyra, and in that moment, with death staring them in the face, she finally understood Lyra. Kate said softly, knowing everyone could hear but not caring. "When this started, I was barely living, just going through the motions of existence, but you made me remember what it feels like to care about something, to fight for something." She stopped, because the words caught in her throat. To cherish someone Lyra finished for her. Her smile was radiant, despite the circumstances. "I know what you feel. Through the bond, I feel everything. Your fear and your determination and your love." Kate said finally, giving voice to it. "I cherish you, Lyra. I know it is crazy, and I know it is too fast, and I know we are probably about to die. But I need you to know that the bridge had gone completely silent." Through the view screen, even the Vorath seemed to be waiting. Lyra's eyes filled with tears that were luminescent and beautiful. Finally, she whispered, "I have waited so long to hear someone say those words and mean them." Finally. They kissed there on the bridge of a dying ship, with death surrounding them and their crew watching, and the fate of worlds hanging in the balance. And in that kiss, Kate felt power surge through the bond. Not the desperate energy of survival, but something purer and stronger, the power of a soul that had finally found its home. When they broke apart. Nexa was glowing so brightly it hurt to look directly at her. The dragon leapt from Lyra's shoulder and began to transform. But differently than before, she grew, yes, but her form was changing, incorporating starlight and something else. Something human that came from Kate's bond with Lyra. Impossible. Lyra breathed. The Drake is evolving and drawing on both our essences. Kate, what are you, just human? Kate said as she watched in awe. But maybe that is enough. She turned to her crew with renewed determination. All power to weapons and shields. Amy, I need firing solutions on all 47 ships. Monica, hail those Terran reinforcements and tell them to hold position until my signal. Helen, I hope your medical bay is ready, because we are about to capture ourselves a lot of Vorath vessels. Capture Lisa, echoed Commander. That is insane, Kate finished. I know, but we have an advantage they do not expect. Lyra connects a phase through their shields. Through the bond, Kate felt Lyra's understanding. Yes, and with our combined power, I can maintain her transformation long enough to deliver boarding parties, human marines, and elven magic. Kate said, let us see how the collective handles that combination. The Vorath commander was laughing now. A sound like grinding metal. You think to attack us with one ship. You are either the bravest or most foolish commander in the galaxy. Both, Kate said. That is what makes us human. Lyra, are you ready? The princess took her position beside Kate's command chair. Her hands were already weaving patterns of ancient power. Nexa, in her new evolved form, howled, a sound that carried through space and made the Vorath ships shudder. I am ready, my heart, Lyra said. Then let us show them what happens when humanity meets magic. All ships, Kate commanded. Her voice carried to both her crew and the Terran reinforcements. Today we do not just fight to survive. We fight to protect what we love, and there is no force in this universe that can stand against that. The Valiant surged forward. One ship against 47. One commander and her alien princess against a collective that had consumed 1,000 worlds. The Vorath opened fire, and space became a deadly light show. The shields flared and buckled, but held. Amy returned fire, targeting not to destroy, but to disable, taking out engines and weapons, but leaving hulls intact, and Nexa, transformed by the bond, danced between the Vorath ships like a phantom, phasing through shields and delivering teams of Terran marines. Through the bond, Kate and Lyra fought as one. When Kate saw a tactical opening, Lyra's magic was already moving to exploit it. When Lyra's power flagged, Kate's determination flowed through their connection to sustain her. They were two souls in perfect synchronization, and the Vorath had no defense against it. One by one, the Vorath vessels fell, not destroyed but captured, their crews forced to surrender. The Harvester, seeing its fleet falling, began to charge its main weapon, a reality ripper 100 times more powerful than before. That is our target, Kate said. Nexa, can you get us close enough? The dragon roared her answer. Suddenly the Valiant was moving faster than physics should allow, wrapped in starlight and human determination. They phased through the remaining Vorath ships, appeared directly in front of the Harvester's core, all power to forward weapons. Kate commanded Amy, firing solution on the central core fire. Everything we have. The Valiant unleashed its full arsenal. Kinetic rounds and plasma torpedoes and particle beams, everything at once. And behind the physical weapons came Lyra's magic silver fire that burned not matter, but the very concept of the collective's hive mind. The Harvester's shields held for 3 seconds. Then they shattered completely. The reality ripper detonated incompletely, tearing a hole in space, but a controlled one that drew in the Harvester's own mass. Consuming it from within, the fortress ship collapsed in on itself, and with it, the hive mind that had controlled the Vorath collective for millennia. Across the battlefield, the remaining Vorath ships simply stopped, their crews freed from the collective's control for the first time in their lives. They surrendered without a fight. It was over. In the sudden silence, Kate became aware of Lyra collapsed against her. Both of them were barely standing. Around them, their crew was cheering and crying and embracing. The reinforcements are here, Monica reported. Her voice was thick with emotion. 17. Terran ships requesting permission to render aid. Granted, Kate managed to say, and someone contact Earth Command. Tell them we just ended a 3,000-year war. Lyra was looking at her with those galaxy eyes. Through their bond, Kate felt joy and love and relief so profound. "We did it," the princess whispered. "You crazy, brilliant, impossible human. We actually did it." "We did it together," Kate corrected, pulling Lyra close. "That is kind of our thing now," Commander Helen's voice came over the communication system. "I need both of you in medical bay." That stunt with the combined magic probably did interesting things to your biology. Later, Kate said firmly. Right now, I am going to stand here with the woman I love and watch the sunrise on a new era. There is no sun here, Lyra pointed out with a smile. We are in deep space, then we will make our own. Kate said. Together. They kissed again. Softer this time. A promise rather than a desperate goodbye. Nexa returned to her smaller form and settled on both their shoulders, purring like thunder, and on the bridge of the Valiant, surrounded by her crew and the woman who had become her sole bonded mate. Commander Kate Morris finally felt at peace. The war was over. The impossible had become possible, and their adventure was only just beginning.